The British government would prefer if you didn't see this plane. It's just taken off from a Royal Air Force base on Cyprus and is flying towards Palestine. On board, the crew are about to spy on Gaza and share intelligence with the armed forces of Israel, a country being accused of genocide. Officially, they are looking for people held by Hamas.
They do not have a combat role, and they'll be tasked solely to locate hostages.
But critics fear these surveillance flights, which happen almost every day, make Britain a direct participant in Israel's genocide.
It is collusion with the total destruction of a people, and it's horrifying.
Month after month, thousands of people march through London, demanding an end to arms sales with Israel. The Conservatives never listened. But Labour finally agreed to make some changes.
For certain UK arms exports to Israel, there does exist a clear risk that they might be used to commit a serious violation.
Foreign Secretary David Lammy restricted weapons sales to Israel over human rights concerns. But Britain's support for Benjamin Netanyahu's war in Gaza has not ended entirely.
The International Centre of Justice for Palestinians is monitoring Britain's role in the conflict, and it believes a crucial aspect of UK support for Israel is being overlooked: intelligence sharing.
It was announced at the start of December last year that the UK would begin operating these surveillance missions, which are being launched from RAF base in Cyprus. They fly across the Eastern Mediterranean and conduct a sort of 5-6 hour mission over Gaza and return. There have been hundreds of flights providing a hell of a lot of recordings, collected intelligence from publicly available flight tracking websites. We know that these flights are in operation at the time of documented war crimes. The strike on the World Central Kitchen convoy, in which 7 aid workers, including 3 British nationals, were killed. There is a complete lack of transparency on the part of the government. It's very difficult to get this information out.
Will he also explain what role Britain has played in overflying Gaza with surveillance aircraft?
I am very comfortable with the support that we give to Israel, and I won't comment on operational issues.
The British government has got itself into a position where it is saying that its partner is likely committing breaches of international humanitarian law in its campaign against Gaza, and yet is still facilitating that campaign with the intelligence collected by these flights.
Naledi Pandor was the Foreign Minister of South Africa when it accused Israel of genocide at the International Court of Justice. We asked her if it was appropriate for Britain to help Israel surveil Gaza.
There are many instances in which Britain has been a provider of support to Israel, including arms which have killed thousands of innocent Palestinian people. So clearly, if there continues to be other aspects of collaboration, it is collusion with what has been called a crime against humanity, and particularly collusion with the case we have brought to the ICJ of genocide.
Those other aspects of collaboration involve the RAF's Shadow R1, an intelligence, surveillance and target acquisition aircraft whose full capabilities are shrouded in secrecy.
When you have an aeroplane whose output that we guard very, very carefully, you've got to know that what it's doing is absolutely crucial.
Although the plane's missions are partially visible on flight tracking websites, the Ministry of Defence has not released any footage of the Shadow Fleet's operations over Gaza. It refused to let Declassified visit their base in Cyprus to film, so we hired an experienced local journalist and hatched a plan to catch the plane on camera. Last week, at the crack of dawn, he started filming from public land outside the base, about a mile from the runway. Military police came, checked his ID and left, after he produced an email from the MOD press office conceding that it could not bar media from this far outside. But he had to tell them which aircraft he wanted to film, and now we suspected the Shadow Fleet might be grounded until dark. The base was a hive of activity for all sorts of aircraft, apart from the spy plane. 2 Chinooks and an American Black Hawk helicopter buzzed overhead. RAF Typhoon fighter jets and a Voyager air-to-air refueling tanker powered off the tarmac. Yet none of this is secret. The MOD proudly published footage of its Typhoons taking off to bomb Yemen in January. It was the shadow that proved elusive, and our cameraman was fast running out of time. But then he saw a light flash suddenly on the runway. The shadow was about to take off. It taxied down the runway, out of sight again, as he followed the sound of its engines. The small, twin-propeller plane looked like nothing compared to what else he had seen that day. But the antennas sticking out from its fuselage betray its advanced surveillance capabilities as it banked and set course for Gaza. The Shadow has far more than just cameras on board. It has high-definition electro-optical sensors with a satellite link for sharing surveillance feeds. Apparently, it can intercept radio and phone calls and zoom in on what's left of the buildings in Gaza.
Well, they'll see absolute destruction. There's been a complete annihilation of any form of civilized infrastructure for Palestinian people.
The British government claims it is extremely careful about what intelligence from the flights it shares with Israel's military.
Only information relating to hostage rescue will be passed to relevant authorities responsible for those rescues.
When the British government says that it's tasked to support hostage rescue, that of course, it sounds very innocuous on the face of it, but it has to be considered in the context of what Israel's hostage rescue operations have been. Very few, between six and 8 hostages have been recovered militarily. The most notable example of a hostage rescue operation in Israel's eyes, the most successful hostage rescue operation where they retrieved 4 Israeli hostages, that was the Nusayrat camp massacre, in which over 275 Palestinians were killed directly by that operation.
Pandor is also concerned about the risks of sharing surveillance footage of Gaza with Israel.
Israel has never cared about not slaughtering others, especially Palestinian people. And so I don't think there would be an instance where they would show care toward those that they're currently oppressing.
Even if the flights are purely looking for hostages, the RAF appears to have achieved almost nothing. Of the 250 people taken hostage by Hamas last October, far more have been freed through negotiations than in military raids. Many families of the remaining hostages are furious that Netanyahu has not done a deal to bring them home.
I don't think Netanyahu's interested in releasing hostages particularly. I don't think that's high on his list of priorities. And he was responsible, in my view, for the Israeli hostages not being released. Of course, those who are holding them also have responsibility, but he could have got them out had he chosen to do so, and he hasn't.
Among those still held by Hamas are a very small number of British citizens.
There are 2 British nationals that remain as hostages. I don't want to make any further comment on them. There are also, of course...
Do we know they're alive, though?
I just don't want to say any more. We don't have any information to share with you. We're doing everything we can to try and help in both those cases.
How many hostages have we managed to get back to the UK?
I don't have the figures off the top of my head. There were... I'll have to write you about that. I don't have the figures. I don't want to give a false figure.
Forgive me, we aren't looking at 1,000 people when we're not sure. I mean, how many British nationals have been brought back who were hostages held by Hamas or Palestinian Jihad?
I don't think there are any. No.
Okay.
So the answer's 0?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
Hamas claims that one of those British nationals, Nadav Popperwell, has since been killed in an Israeli airstrike. The IDF has not entirely denied this, saying he died during operations near Khan Yunis. The last surviving British hostage is Emily Damari, a 28-year-old dual national. At first, her family said little about her case. It's now emerged she is the cousin of Lord Levy, who was Tony Blair's special envoy to the Middle East. Perhaps this high-profile connection is the reason why British authorities are willing to fly so many spy flights over Gaza, even if it draws unwelcome attention to the airbase they are operating from.
British bases out! Out! British bases out!
The presence of the British bases in Cyprus can be only danger for the island because they are putting us inside the map of the war zone.
Severos Koulas leads the largest youth movement in Cyprus. Outraged at what is happening in Gaza, they've been protesting outside the UK military facilities that occupy 3% of the island, which Britain refused to hand back at independence in 1960, reclassifying them as sovereign base areas.
This notion of administered territories is a really bad notion, and I think we need to continue the efforts to end all forms of colonial or neo-colonial oppression. And really, I can't imagine what the justification would be of such administered territories in the 21st century.
If you've enjoyed this video and you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please click the button below. If you want to help Declassified make more videos like this, you can donate to our work through the Super Thanks button or by going to our website and joining us from £3 a month. Thanks for watching.